Continuing from last time, we will provide training on the request item among the WebUI management items. The request section allows you to configure the following: user request, IP request, external device request, agent authentication code. User request, related to user authentication. This is used when applying for an account to perform user authentication in NAC. IP request, related to IP management policies. This is used to request an IP to bypass IP management blocking features in NAC. External device request, related to device blocking features. This is used to apply for permission to use a blocked device on the endpoint. Agent authentication code, related to agent removal. This is used to request an authentication code to delete the NAC agent installed on the endpoint. The user application section is used to request an account when the password authentication policy is enabled. To use this feature, detailed settings must be configured in the following menus: Preferences, Properties, Purpose, User. Preferences, User Authentication, User Account. Preferences, User Authentication, User Authentication. The user account request stores accounts in NAC's internal local database, allowing user authentication based on this information. If an external authentication repository is used, or alternative authentication methods are applied, the user account request will not be used. User request is initiated when a user without an existing account attempts to authenticate. If a user account exists, NAC proceeds with the standard authentication process. If the account does not exist, the user is redirected to the user registration page via a link to submit a request. During the request process, the information required can vary depending on the user's purpose. Once the request is approved and the account is created, the user can authenticate with NAC using the newly approved account. If an account does not exist, the user will proceed with the user request through the user registration page link. To enable the user registration page, go to Node Policy, Authentication Policy, and set the user account option to On. Click Node Policy, then go to Authentication Policy and set the user account request to On. After that, click the Apply button in the upper right corner. You can then access the registration page by visiting https://server IP/CWP. Click the Request User Account button to proceed. When submitting a user request, the required information can vary depending on the user's purpose. To configure the purpose, go to Preferences, Properties, Purpose. Add and apply the necessary user purposes from this menu. In the Preference menu, click on Purpose. Next, select the ID you want to configure and edit the input fields through the Account Purpose section. The configured results will appear as additional fields when the corresponding purpose is selected on the user request page. When submitting a user request, the user selects a purpose and enters the required information based on the chosen purpose. Approval or rejection of user requests is typically performed by an administrator. However, depending on the purpose, the approval method can be configured differently, such as automatic approval, email approval, administrator approval. Let's review the entire user account request process covered earlier through the following video. User request, full process. Step 1. The user accesses the CWP page and clicks the Request User Account button. Step 2. The user fills out the required fields based on the purpose of the account and clicks the Submit button at the bottom. Step 3. The administrator reviews the submitted request in the request menu and either approves or rejects the request. Final step. The user verifies successful authentication with NAC using the newly approved account. The IP request is used to allow devices that violate IP management policies to request IP usage. To enable this feature, detailed settings must be configured in the following menus: Preferences, Purpose, Request, Preferences, General, IPAM. The IP request form includes the following options: IP request, IP return, device change, user change. IP request, used to request IP usage for blocked or unused IP addresses. IP return, used to manually release IP resources when an IP is no longer in use. Device change, allows the use of a different MAC address when the device using the IP changes. User change, applied when the user account associated with the IP changes. If the target IP being requested is not currently in use, proceed with the IP usage request through the following process. If the device intended to use the IP is not connected to the network, the IP request must be submitted through the request system on another device. To access the IP request system, enter the following URL in the web browser address bar: https://policyserverip/IPMGMT3. You can access the IP request system by entering the following URL: https://policyserverip/IPMGMT3. To access the IP request system, a user account is required. If you need to accept IP usage requests from users without an account, you must enable the Guest User Requests option under Preferences, General, IP Management. When logging in with a user account, the request form can be completed by specifying a purpose. However, if logged in as a guest user, the request form can only be submitted for temporary use. To enable guest user requests, go to the IP Management menu in Settings and switch the Guest User Requests option to On. Then, click the Update button at the bottom to complete the configuration. Once applied, the change will be reflected on the login screen of the IP request system. When submitting an IP request, the required information may vary depending on the purpose of the IP request item. To configure the purpose, navigate to Preferences, Properties, Purpose, Request. From there, you can add and apply different purposes for the IP request. In Preferences, IP Request, click on the New IP menu. Next, select the desired ID and edit the input fields through the Request Field Option section. Once configured, the additional fields will appear on the IP request page when the corresponding purpose is selected. After accessing the IP request system, you can fill out the request form by selecting a purpose in the IP request section. Once the request form is completed, the administrator can review it by navigating to Management, Request, IP Request. From there, select the Accept, Return option to accept or reject the submitted request. Let's review the entire user request process covered earlier through the following video. Full IP request process through the IPM GMT page. Step 1. The user accesses the IP request system page. Log in with a user account, or if no account exists, click the Guest Login button to proceed. Step 2. Select the appropriate purpose and enter the required information. Dynamic IPs are assigned through DHCP, while static IPs allow the use of a designated IP. Final step. The administrator reviews the request under IP New Return in the IP Request menu. The admin can accept or reject the user's request. If the target IP being requested is blocked by IP management policies, the IP usage request is processed as follows. To access the IP request system through the CWP page, you need to enable IP usage request under Preferences, General, IPAM. After configuring the settings, a button to access the IP request system will appear on the CWP page. Click the button and log in to proceed to the request page. Go to Preferences, General, IP AIM, and set the IP usage request option to On. After this, when accessing the CWP page, you will see the Request IP button. Users can access the IP request system by either logging in with their account or through the Guest Login option. To access the IP request system, a user account is required. If you need to accept IP usage requests from users without an account, enable the Guest User Request option under Preferences, General, IP AIM. When logging in with a user account, the user can specify a purpose and complete the request form. If logging in as a guest user, the request form can only be submitted for temporary purposes. To enable Guest User Request, go to the IPAM menu in Preferences and switch the Guest User Request option to On. Click the Update button at the bottom to complete the configuration. Once applied, the change will be visible on the login screen of the IP request system. When submitting a new IP request, the required information can vary depending on the purpose of the IP request item. To configure the purpose, navigate to Preferences, Properties, Request, IP Request. From there, you can add and apply different purposes for the IP request. In Preferences, Request, click on the IP Request menu. Next, select the desired ID and edit the input fields through the Purpose section. Once configured, the additional fields will appear on the IP request page when the corresponding purpose is selected. After accessing the IP request system, you can specify a purpose in the IP request section and complete the application form. Once the request form is completed, the administrator can review it by navigating to Management, Request, IP Request. From there, select the Request Return option to approve or reject the submitted request. The process for requesting approval to use an unauthorized IP is as follows. Full IP request process through the CWP page, when blocked. Step 1. When blocked, the user accesses the IP request system by clicking the Request IP button on the CWP page. The user logs in with their account, or if no account exists, clicks the Guest Login button to proceed. Step 2. The user selects the appropriate purpose and enters the required information. Dynamic IPs are assigned via DHCP, while static IPs allow the use of a designated IP. Final step. The administrator reviews the request under Request Return in the IP Request menu. The admin can either approve or reject the user's request. The IP return option is used in the IP request system to submit a request form for returning IP addresses that are no longer in use. IP return process through the IP request system. Step 1. Access the IP request system by entering the following URL: https://policyserver/IP/IPMGMT. Log in to proceed. Step 2. After logging in, navigate to the IP return menu on the left panel. Select the IP you wish to return and fill in the required fields. Final step. The administrator reviews the request under the Request Return menu. The admin can either accept the return or reject the request. The device change request option in the IP request system is used to submit a request form when the MAC address of a device changes, allowing the new MAC to be used. Step 1. Access the IP request system by entering the following URL: https://policyserver/IP/IPMGMT. Log in to proceed. Step 2. After logging in, navigate to the Device Change menu on the left panel. Select the IP associated with the device you wish to update and fill in the required fields, including the new MAC address. Final step. The administrator reviews the request under the Device Change menu. The admin can either accept or reject the request. Step 1. Access the IP request system by entering the following URL: https://policyserver/IP/IPMGMT. Log in to proceed. Step 2. After logging in, navigate to the User Change menu on the left panel. Specify the current user associated with the IP and assign the new user to replace them. Final step. The administrator reviews the request under the User Change menu. The admin can either accept or reject the user change request. The external device request is used to request the use of blocked devices when device control policies are in place. To enable and configure this feature, detailed settings must be made in the following menus: Policy, Node Action, Policy, External Device Policy. The external device request can be submitted from an endpoint that contains a device blocked by the external device policy. To submit an external device request, the Device Usage Request option must be enabled in the Control External Device plugin assigned to the Node policy. Click on Control External Device Node Action, then enable the External Device Request option in the detailed settings. After that, click the Apply button in the upper right corner and reapply the policy. If the external device is blocked on the user's endpoint, the user can select the External Device Request option from the Agent Tray icon menu to fill out and submit a device usage request form. First, through the agent, click on the device blocking pop-up at the bottom right corner to navigate to the device request form page. Enter the required information, select the device group to be used, and click the Apply button. Second, the administrator checks the user's application details in the Request menu of the application and processes the approval or rejection. The Agent Authentication Code feature is used to delete the NAC agent from user endpoints or restore blocked network devices. There are 3 ways to configure NAC agent removal from user endpoints: Authentication Code Approval, one-to-one matching. An authentication code is issued for each agent. The agent can be removed by entering the approved code. Unrestricted removal via Agent Tray menu. The agent can be deleted directly from the tray menu without any additional approval. No deletion option. Agent removal is not supported through the menu. The agent authentication code is primarily used for the first method, where an authentication code is generated to match the agent code for deletion. Additionally, when restoring network devices blocked by the Control Network Interface plugin, the authentication code can be generated to match the recovery code, allowing the interface to switch to active use. To obtain an agent authentication code, the NAC agent must be installed on the user's endpoint. To receive an interface recovery code, the interface must have been disabled by the Control Network Interface plugin. To delete the agent using an approval code, go to Policy, Node Policy, Agent Policy. In the agent settings, change the agent deletion method to use authentication code. To request an agent deletion authentication code from the user's endpoint, the agent code must first be generated. Steps to generate and request agent deletion code. Generate agent code. On the user endpoint, right-click the agent tray icon and select Delete Agent from the submenu. Copy the displayed agent code. Send agent code to admin. There is no automated method to send the code directly to the administrator. The user must manually deliver the code via SMS, email, or any method suitable for the environment. Admin code generation. Once the administrator receives the agent code, they can generate a matching deletion code by navigating to Management, Requests, Agent Authentication Code. Enter the agent code and generate the corresponding authentication code. Send authentication code to endpoint. The generated authentication code can be sent to the user's endpoint using the instant message transmission feature. This process ensures that agent removal is controlled and authorized, preventing unauthorized deletions. Step 1. The user right-clicks the NAC agent tray icon at the bottom right of their screen. Select Delete Agent from the menu. The displayed agent code is copied and sent to the administrator. Step 2. The administrator navigates to Requests. Agent Authentication Code. Enter the agent code received from the user and generate the deletion authentication code. The generated code is sent back to the user. Final step. The user enters the deletion authentication code and clicks the Delete button. The agent icon will be removed from the tray, confirming the agent has been successfully uninstalled. Step 1. Interface block occurrence. The Control Network Interface plugin must block the interface on the user's endpoint. When the block occurs, a pop-up message displays the recovery code. The user copies the recovery code and sends it to the administrator. Step 2. Delivering the recovery code to admin. There is no automatic method to send the recovery code directly to the administrator. The user must manually send the code via SMS, email, or another appropriate method based on the company's environment. Step 3. Admin code generation. Once the administrator receives the recovery code, they navigate to Management Requests, Agent Authentication Code. The admin enters the recovery code and generates a matching interface approval code. Step 4. Code delivery to user. The generated code can be sent to the endpoint using the instant message transmission feature. This process ensures that blocked interfaces can be securely restored with administrative approval. This training has completed the second item of the fourth chapter of Genion NAC, WebUI Management. Next time, we will provide training on the third item of the fourth chapter, Genion NAC, WebUI Log.